Namaste, my name is Sonal Kothari and I'm a psychotherapist and a parent coach. And I teach a program, a facilitator program called Dr. Thomas Gordon's Parent Effectiveness Training. So this conversation that we're going to have today is about why and how parents lose control in certain situations with their children, and then what we can do about it. So my colleague Akanksha and I, and we run Journey to Selfhood together, we're talking about this crisis and how parents were dealing with it. And last week we had a YouTube live in which we talked about how during this time you can maintain a kind of flow and a balance, right? So you're at home with your children, you're in confined spaces, there's not a lot of outlets for socialization, you're not getting any breaks from each other. Maybe your spouse is also at home, maybe you're working, the maid's probably not coming, or the house help is limited. So this, you're worried about the virus itself and getting sick. Maybe you're worried about your parents who are in a different place, work related issues, connectivity issues. This was supposed to be also a live event, but due to connectivity issues, I'm doing this video now instead. So given that all these stresses are happening, it's just normal and natural that sometimes we may lose it with our children. We may raise our voices, we may say things or do things that are hurtful to them and that we may feel guilty about. So this video is going to talk about why that happens and how we can sort of learn to mitigate it a little bit and what we can do when we're in that zone. So the impetus for this video came because I was reading an article online about a hospital in North Texas that was receiving cases of severe abuse of children. And all the children in that 1 week following when the COVID crisis or this coronavirus thing exploded in the United States, within a week, the spike had happened. And doctors believe that it was due to the stresses that parents were facing. So that's why we're doing this video, because some of us may be facing a similar situation. Okay, so to begin with, I'd like to talk a little bit about different zones feeling zones that we're in. So this is called the comfort zone. Right? This is when we're feeling comfortable, that things are easy, we're relaxed, we don't even know sometimes that we're in the comfort zone. That's just when we're watching TV, the kids and us are having dinner together, our spouse and I are having a discussion about something, everything's easygoing and relaxed, we're just sitting. Then comes the stretch zone. Yeah, this is when things are slightly uncomfortable. So maybe, I don't know, I'm calling the kids for food and they aren't coming. Or maybe I'm really worried about my parents because I haven't been able to get in touch with them and they're elderly. And I'm stressed about that. So there's discomfort in me. Or it's like I'm worried about my teenager being locked in their room and being on a gadget all day long. And I'm really freaked out about that because they should be studying. There's going to be exams after this or something like that. So I'm really stretched. So I can be a little stretched or I can be a lot stretched. And finally, we have what is called the red zone. So as you can imagine, this is when I'm dysregulated, or this is when I'm struggling. I'm like having difficulty. I'm scared, or I'm saying things that I have no control over. I'm overwhelmed. So this will look like when you're flustered with your kids, when you're screaming at them, right? You're saying things that are hurtful, or even they might be in the red zone, that they're saying things back to you that are hurtful and mean and unkind. So in today's conversation, this is where we're gonna talk about this part, right? When we've entered the red zone. So the next concept is called the feelings iceberg. So as we know, the iceberg is 1/10 above and 9/10 below. right? So when we're in the red zone, when we are dysregulated, when we don't have control over ourselves completely, sometimes we don't even know when we're there, right? We feel it in our body. We're palpitating, our heart's beating faster, our jaws may be clenched, there may be stress and tension along here, our neck and shoulders may be tight, our stomach may be feeling either like a stone or tight, or there may be some discomfort in our stomach. Sometimes some of us feel it in our throat, some of us feel it behind our eyes or on our brows, right? So then we know we're dysregulated, like we're in the zone. So when we're in the zone, what kind of behavior do we normally display? For a lot of us, it's anger. So we get angry, right? That's what's seen on the outside. But the truth of the matter is that most times, or many times, anger is a secondary emotion. And that before that, we've actually felt something different, right? That's the primary emotion. So I may be feeling hurt. So I feel hurt, then I get angry. I may be feeling sad, and then I get angry. I may be tired because I've been working all morning and the work's just not finishing, and I'm tired, and then I get irritated with my kids and yell at them, right? I may be, I don't know, I may be feeling unloved. I may be feeling unappreciated. I may be feeling worried. I may be stressed about work. There's so many things that are usually going on with us, right? And one of these things triggers us, and then we get angry. And anger doesn't mean always yelling and screaming, though that's what I've been using in our conversation, I'm noticing. But it can be withdrawal, it can be all kinds of ways people show anger, right? I won't speak to my kid, it's like, okay, do whatever you like, and that's fine, and it's your life, and those kinds of things. So anger can be displayed in many ways, and each of us has our favorite way of showing anger. So, but first we feel a primary feeling, and then we get angry. So this is good to know, right? So when we have the number on this, that's when we can start unlocking other things for ourselves. And I will be talking about 5 or 6 different ways in which we can start taking care of ourselves and coming from dysregulation to regulation, right? Sorry. So and as children, we learn to self-soothe ourselves. So if we're crying and nobody's coming, then somehow we learn to self-soothe ourselves, just sucking our thumb, or having a favorite blankie, or curling up in a corner, or reading a book when we get older, or eating something yummy or comforting for ourselves. So all of us learn to self-regulate in some way or the other, but maybe even as children and even as adults, we haven't learned it enough. So those of us who haven't learned to sort of regulate ourselves when we get dysregulated and something is off-putting for us, right? Something's not okay for us. We struggle more. And so how do we learn to get the control back to ourselves? And so these are concepts that I actually learned a couple of weeks ago, and I think they're a fantastic way of looking at things. So this is me, and this is everything within me. And this is everything external to me, right? So this is my one-on-one relationships, this is my family, my extended family, that may be my society that I live in, the building, etc. Then it may be the community, larger community, maybe I live in Kormangla or something, and then the city, and then going all the way out to the universe. Okay, can't spell. So as I move above this line, I have less and less influence, right? I have more influence on my child and maybe a little bit on my spouse, depending on what the dynamics is of the relationship, the power dynamics. Um, but as I go further and further out, my capacity to influence people outside becomes less and less and less, right? But within me, it's 100% potentially. It's potentially 100%, right? Um, so that's where we're going to look at. So that's where the intervention, right? So when I'm in the red zone, this is where I'm going to put an intervention to bring myself back into regulation. Okay, so parenting, in parenting, whether I'm parenting my own inner child, so when I'm dysregulated, my inner child's in discomfort, and I needed to develop a nurturing parent to take care of my inner child. And also then when my physical child, my 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 18-year-old, 14-year-old is in discomfort, then I also need to be nurturing towards them. But it begins with myself, right? So whether it's my inner child, nurturing my inner child, or whether it's nurturing my actual child, communication is everything, right? That's the lifeblood of parenting. And so if that's a whole nother topic, and I teach that in the program called Parent Effectiveness Training. It's Dr. Thomas Gordon, by this um, psychologist called Dr. Thomas Gordon, and it teaches you the nuts and bolts of how you can communicate. So it's never that we intend to hurt our children. It's never that we want to hurt our children. Very, very few parents on purpose would like to hurt their child, but it just happens sometimes, right? But there are ways in which we can learn to communicate that offset that take care of me, my agitation, my discomfort. How do I express my discomfort in a way that doesn't hurt um, me, because I need to self-express and say I'm really annoyed or really upset about this. How do I not put it on the child, blame the child, or shame my child, right? How do I say it in a way that doesn't hurt them? And how do I say it in a way that maintains the relationship that my child and I have? So that's what the program teaches. It's 8 weeks long, and there's more information about this on my website. Okay. When we are dysregulated, we can regulate ourselves, and we can teach our children how to do it. So I'm going to now talk about 5 different ways, and many, many different ways of doing this, right? But I'm going to talk about 5 very simple, very accessible ways to do this when we're not quite all there, like when we're not aware of what we're saying or doing. We can't control it. Sometimes we know what we're there, but we're just like, things are coming out of our mouth and we can't stop ourselves, right? We have to finish what we're started saying. I'm going to quickly talk about the hand brain model. And it's a simple way to understand what happens when we're, to us physiologically, when we're in the red zone. So if this is the brain, this is the prefrontal cortex, right? That's what makes us human. That's where the logical reasoning, thinking, language, rationality, all those qualities are a function of the forebrain. That is a big part. And then there's the middle part of the brain. That's the brain stem that connects the two. And then there's this hind brain, right? That's the reptilian brain. The fight, flight, or freeze response comes from this brain. So when the brain is integrated, it's working all together, all 3 aspects are working together, then it's called the integrated brain. And we have access to this, all the aspects of the prefrontal cortex. But when we get dysregulated and when we're in the red zone, this part goes offline and we're functioning from the hindbrain, right? There's a whole science behind this that I'm not going to go into. At that time, we don't have access to logic and reasoning and rationality, and we know that we shouldn't be scolding our children, we shouldn't be raising our voice, we shouldn't be shaming them, we shouldn't maybe be hitting them even, but we don't have access to all of that stuff. So we're just operating from here, right? So how do we come back online? So I'm going to share 4 or 5 different things that you can do. They're very simple, super accessible, and you can teach them to your kids. So my suggestion is, now that you're in this home together, and maybe tempers are flying or things are happening or the children are getting upset and losing it, depending on what age they are, their expression of that will be different. My suggestion is to talk about all of these or a few of these or your version of these, because there'll be many other things that you can do. You talk about all of that at a time when there's no dysregulation happening, right? So we, in P.E.T, we call that the no problem zone. So we're all sitting down, it's after dinner, maybe we're gonna watch a movie, maybe we're just chit-chatting, maybe it's morning time, we've just had breakfast, and you can talk to the kids about this and you can introduce it in, you know, in many different ways. And one of the ways to do that is to say, look, remember yesterday, you know, you were tired and you missed snack and you know, you got upset and mama got upset and mama screamed at you and mama didn't like that. And I don't really want us to do that. So I'm wondering when one of us starts to get, and this is difficult, right? To really acknowledge that this is a difficult time and that tempers may fray and that we may get pushed to the edge. And then say, let's talk about ways in which we can take care of ourselves or each other when one of us or both of us hit the red zone. Okay, so the very first one is breathing. Simple enough. So you start getting agitated, you're getting into this place and you just breathe. It's actually the out breath that helps you release that edge on the energy. 3 breaths, 5 breaths will do it. Yeah, you'll calm down in 3 to 5 breaths. If you're very, very agitated, 7 breaths. You may not remember to do it immediately. So you may be halfway down the slippery slope of having a go at your kids and you may remember. Breathe then. Sometimes you'll catch yourself halfway through and then you catch yourself just before you started, right? And you may still slide. But it's a process and it won't happen overnight. But as soon as you take 3 to 5 breaths, you will calm down. So your brain will start to come back online. Okay. The other thing is to ask your child or give your child the permission to ask you open-ended questions like, what can I do instead? Right? What else is possible? What feels light right now? Light or right now, right? I'm getting really upset and I'm agitated and I'm starting to scream at the kids. And I actually, when I start learning a new a tool such as this one, I actually have posters and things that I make and I put up on the walls, and my kids and I do that together and we put them up on the walls. So anytime you come to my home, they'll be, depending upon what we're learning or what's going on, or we have these reminders to ourselves. So we can, so that's a great project for you to do in a no problem area, right? Write these questions down and put them up. What am I feeling, for example, is a great question. I know I'm getting angry, but what am I feeling? Like I'm feeling, I don't know, tired or upset, or let's see, anxious and uncomfortable. I've been feeling not valued. So that's another way to start coming back online, by asking a very open-ended question. One of the things that I have done for mindfulness, so this is a mindfulness bingo that I give out to my clients, and my children and I have done it. So in here you fill up things like breath and taking a walk and listening to music and all kinds of things, right? You can fill up a bunch of things here. And I can send you a copy of the version I have. If you send us your email or phone number, then we can WhatsApp or email you that. But for the red zone, we can have a red zone bingo, right? So you and your children can fill this up together. So it's got things like breathe out, make a cup of tea, yeah, tear some newspaper. If you've got younger children, just have a bunch of newspapers stacked somewhere in the house where anybody gets upset or gets angry can go to this to that little space and tear newspaper up. It's a great way of releasing. It's like you're doing something, right? So it takes the edge off and starts helping you come back down. Walk away. So you start feeling yourself getting really angry and things are starting to come out of your mouth. Just turn around and walk away. Drink some water, do some affirmations. The affirmation that I do most is an ancient Hawaiian form of healing called Ho'oponopono. And they're just 4 very simple statements. And they go like this: I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, I thank you. And in certain situations, I'm not able to say I'm sorry, or I'm not able to say I love you, depending upon who the other person is and what's going on and how upset I am. So I just say what feels comfortable to me. And you can use other affirmations, right? uh, I'm okay, it's okay, yeah, we'll be fine. So find your affirmation, say something. It's like a lifeline. So there have been times when I've been doing personal work and I've been in a space where I'm really agitated for say a week or 2 weeks or something like that. Then but I will find a sentence that I can hold on to as a kind of prop, or a crutch for that period of time that I need that support. Sit down. So if you're standing up, just sit down. Do anything different to break that, or to create a pause, to break the the flow of that energy that you're feeling. Stop talking. Just stop talking. As soon as you realize, stop talking. Just zip it. I've literally sat on my hands and bit my lips and bit my tongue at times, uh, when I was losing it. Right? Name the feeling. What are you feeling? So the anger, whatever it is the secondary feeling. What's below there? Right? Name the feeling. And for that, there's this thing, by this lady called Gloria Wilcox. It's called the feelings wheel. And again, it's this circular chart with maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 different feeling words on it, to stick it up at home, right? A lot of us have very poor feelings vocabulary. We don't know what we're feeling, and it's critical. So if you want to start coming back in from dysregulation to regulation, and we want to have a more healthy, um, when you want to be in the well-being zone, then feelings are critical. What am I feeling is the very first question, to ask. What am I feeling? What do I need? How do I get it? If you can teach this to your children, um, they'll have high EQ. And in today's world, that's critically important. Okay. So far we've talked about why we get in the red zone, right? So our brain's not functioning. Okay, we're dysregulated. We talked about using the breath. We talked about asking open-ended questions, and we talked about doing maybe a red zone bingo, right? So this is the things we can do when we're upset. The fourth thing on my list is Jin Shin Jyutsu finger holds. So Jin Shin Jyutsu is a very ancient Japanese art form, or a healing art form. And it uses the power of the body to heal itself. And there are many, many healing modalities that use the fingers or the hands to heal ourselves, right? So there's Reiki, and there's access bars, and there's lots of other modalities. This is really simple. So the acronym that I use is get rid of, worry, fast. So FAST, right? And I can send, again, if you do Jin Shin Jyutsu finger holds, you'll get like tons of pictures on this, but we can also send this to you if you send us your email and phone number. So worry, fear, so that's just it. Thumb towards your palm. Fear, so if I'm feeling scared, I hold this finger. If I'm feeling angry, flipping off somebody, I hold this finger. If I'm feeling sad, or any version of that, right? So I hold this finger. And trying to is when the little finger is when what I'm feeling on the inside and what I'm feeling on the outside is not matching up. So suppose I'm starting to get, my primary feeling is a worry around my child is watching too much TV, or my child is skipping a meal. Then I'll hold this one, sorry. It takes 2 to 3 minutes of holding your finger to come back online, right? I've used this for, I don't know, 6, 7 years now. My kids use it. I hold my kids' fingers. I hold my husband's fingers. I teach it to my clients. It actually works. It's really simple. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can try it. Okay, so the last one that I'm going to teach you is called body low slow loop. And this comes from the somatic experiencing work by a trainer by the name of John Chitty. And I learned about this through Kate White, who works with infants and babies and their families, healing trauma, uh, birth trauma, and other kinds of trauma. And so basically, again, it's about bringing the body back to the present. So when I'm agitated and I'm having all these symptoms, right? So suppose my throat is constricted because I'm so angry that I just like cannot speak right now. And so in that moment, just remembering where in my body, remembering to do this, right? So body, the first one's body. So where is it that I'm feeling what I'm feeling? Okay, my chest is hurting. Okay, so just getting in touch with that. What's happening over here? Okay, it's tight. Yeah, it feels this way, or my throat is tight, or my jaw is hurting over here. Whatever it is, just take your attention over there. And then slowly, because when we're in stress, our tendency is to move into the head, like to start overthinking. So we're going to move our attention down our body. So from that place, we start moving down our body. So what's happening in my arms? Just take your attention down your chest, yeah, to your stomach, to your thighs, buttocks, legs, your feet. Very slowly, take your attention down to your toes. Okay, take your time about it. Keep breathing. Right, so that's really important to keep breathing in any of the things that I told you, whether it's Jin Shin Jyutsu holds, or whether it's doing anything in the red zone with the bingo, like walking away or sitting down and all. You need to remember to keep breathing, right? The breath helps the energy move. Okay, so where is it that I'm feeling what I'm feeling? Then take your attention slowly down your body. So that's low. Slowing it down. Slowing it down is asking simple questions like, suppose I'm having a constriction in my throat. What does it feel like? Is it like stone? Is it like rock? Like wood, right? Is it woolly? Is it fluffy? What color is it? Is it hot? Is it cold? Asking those kinds of questions to myself, like, okay, so what is the quality of that? Okay, so that slows things down further. And then the looping part is looking outside of me. So this is inside of me, then I look around me, right? So it's like it's a kind of a grounding exercise. So I touch something with my hands, I look around the room, I see what catches my attention, right? I do that for a moment, and then I come back to my throat. The chances are by this time the, the quality of it has shifted, right? I have found some ease in that, and if required, I can do another body low slow loop. So there's a lot of science behind this. So our nervous systems are wired for a stress, and they've been doing this stress loop for a long time. So we need to rewire the nervous system. And doing an exercise like this helps us rewire it. So when I'm in the red zone and I'm dysregulated, doing an exercise such as this, or breathing, or breaking the cycle, or coming back to myself helps me regulate and to rewire my nervous system a different way. And you can also teach your children, very young children also, like 1.5, 2, I'm sure a 2-year-old can like literally do this exercise, yeah, with you. So where does it hurt? What's going on? Yeah. And then let's take your attention down your body, right, through your stomach and legs and toes, and then come back and ask, what's happening over here? Is it heavy? Is it light? Those kinds of questions, right? And then finally, let's look around. What's drawing your attention? Then come back. What's happening here again? So by the time your body has calmed down, and the nervous system has learned a new way of being when you got triggered. So the trigger happened and you got stressed. Now you've learned a different way of for the nervous system to be. Okay, so in summary, parents are people, not God. Dr. Thomas Gordon said that. Yeah, we have this tendency to believe that we need to be on top of everything. We need to have the answers for everything. We need to be perfect. Our kids need to be perfect. Yeah, it's just not happening. We're people. We mess up. We make mistakes. We scream and shout. We get dysregulated. It's just a fact. It's okay to lose it. Like I think what's not okay is if you keep losing it and you don't make any effort to find support and help for yourself and for your children. Uh, and so parents are people, not God. And sometimes we lose it, and that we can change our behavior. Yeah, we can support ourselves and our children, and we can slow down and learn to regulate ourselves. So I'm hoping that some of these things have been helpful. Um, on the bingo thing, you can do right things like jumping up and down, shaking. There's all kinds of things, right? Touch sometimes help, rubbing, those kinds of things also can go down. And maybe we can provide a list of that again if you are interested in getting a copy of the references and things like that. Please write to us and let us know. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Take care of your children. Spend this time connecting with them, making good memories, right? This can be a really difficult time, or it can be a beautiful time. It's almost like the earth has um, given us this opportunity to pause and get in touch with the things that are the most important. uh, Family, ourselves, relationships. It's like it's reminding me of the news story that came out when in Amsterdam, when the canals were vacated. Like, everybody was supposed to stay at home, so the canals, there was no traffic on the canals for 3 or 4 days, and the dolphins came out to play in the canals. So this could be that kind of time for you and your family. So I hope you use it well. If you need support or help, please reach out. Wishing you all the best.